Okay, 2 weeks ago we were starting the aspect of Shabbos called Havdalah. And we said that there's a mitzvah in the Torah, Zochis Yom Shabbos L'Katshei. You have to sanctify the day of Shabbos. And as Chazal say, biblically, Kiddush for sure is biblical according to all opinions. Havdalah is a question in Halacha if it's biblical or rabbinic. But the bottom line is, regardless, the Torah says you have to make sanctify Shabbos when it starts and when it ends. So you sanctify Shabbos by making Kiddush when it starts, meaning you're separating Shabbos from the previous week. And then when you make Havdalah, you say Baruch HaMavdal Ben Kodesh L'Chol or the Havdalah, whatever it is. So then you're basically separating Shabbos from the upcoming weekday. So both ways, Shabbos starts and Shabbos ends, you have this whole concept of Kiddush and Havdalah. Now, biblically, you have to do it verbally. Okay? This that we do it over a cup of wine is rabbinic. That's according to all opinions. That's what we do, Havdalah and Kiddush for them at over a cup of wine. We fulfill a rabbinic obligation. Now you technically could do both things together. If you make Kiddush over a cup of wine, and you don't daven ma'ariv, let's say, you just make Kiddush over a cup of wine, so then you're getting the biblical mitzvah and the rabbinic mitzvah. The same thing with Havdalah. Okay, now the proper time for Havdalah is Mitzvah Shabbos Saturday night after Ma'ariv. Technically, according to a lot of opinions, you can make Havdalah before Ma'ariv. Just a very simple example. Somebody's about to make Havdalah, you want to hear their Havdalah, you didn't daven Ma'ariv yet. So you can listen to Havdalah and then you can go daven Ma'ariv. It's not a big problem with that. Okay, now, when Chazal tells us like this, when the Jews came back to Eretz Yisrael with Ezra at the beginning of the second Beis HaMikdash, the first Beis HaMikdash stood 420 years. I'm sorry, 410 years. Then they had 70 years of Golus. Then Ezra brought the Jews back for the second Beis HaMikdash, which stood 420 years. Okay? Now, when Ezra came back from Eretz Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael, the Jews were very, very poor. In fact, even the Menorah and the Beis HaMikdash, they couldn't afford the gold to make a proper gold Menorah. So they made it out of tin. And then when they got more money, then they made it into a golden Menorah. So therefore, Ezra said, not everybody was able to, it got to such an extent, not everybody was able to afford wine for Havdalah. So therefore they said, you know what, we're going to do it in davening. How are we going to do it in davening? So in Ma'ariv, in the Shemoneh Esrei, you have Atah Chanantanu, which is the tells of which is really the Havdalah that we say verbally in the Shemoneh Esrei. In fact, there's a whole argument in the Gemara, where do you say Atah Chanantanu in the Shemoneh Esrei? According to one opinion, I think Rabbi Kiva says it's a separate bracha. Just make a separate bracha out of it. But the halacha is, we say it in the bracha, Atah Chenan L'Adam Das, that Hashem grants intelligence to people. And the Gemara says, why do we say it there? Because if Ein, what's the lashon? Mein Bina Havdalah Minayin. If you don't have any understanding, how do you differentiate? In order to differentiate between holy and mundane, and between one thing and light and dark, you need to have intelligence. So therefore, where do we say the bracha, the tefillah of Atah Chanantanu? We say it in the bracha of Atah Chen L'Adam Das. Now, after the community got more prosperous, when they came back afterwards to Eretz Yisrael, so then Ezra said again, you have to do it over a cup of wine. Okay? Then it changed again, so it went back and forth. Nowadays, we do both. We do it in the Shemoneh Esrei if you daven Ma'ariv, or even if you don't daven Ma'ariv, if you say verbally, Baruch HaMavdal Ben Kodesh L'Chol, blessed is the one that separates between holy and the weekday or mundane, your Yotze Havdalah. Meaning, afterwards, you could do Malacha, it's not Shabbos anymore. And by the way, you could even do it before you daven Ma'ariv also. It's a lot of times you can have an extended Shalosh Shuddis. It's going into the night, you have a Shabbaton or whatever it is, and it's an extended Shabbaton, Shalosh Shuddis. Shabbos is over, let's say, 6 o'clock, and it's still 7 o'clock, and they're still going strong. So if people want to do Malacha, they should say, Baruch HaMavdal Ben Kodesh L'Chol, and then you're allowed to do whatever you did, even if you didn't daven Ma'ariv yet.
Still eating? Still continue eating?
We'll see about that soon. Yeah. Technically, you continue eating, not if you benched. Once you benched, then you have to do Havdalah, and then you can't. But in fact, a lot of places, even today, a lot of shuls that can't get a minyan Shabbos afternoon for Mincha Ma'ariv. So a lot of the Chabadis, especially during the winter, after davening Shachris, they have a Kiddush. After the Kiddush, they daven Mincha. And then they have a minyan for Ma'ariv after the time, but people say Baruch HaMavdil, and then they drive to Shul. And then they daven Ma'ariv Saturday night in Shul. Because it's hard to get people to walk back, whatever. So they say Baruch HaMavdil, they drive, and it's good. Okay. Now, even if somebody, by the way, made Havdalah over a cup of wine before Ma'ariv, they still have to say Atoch and Antonu in the Shmoneh Esrei. You still have to say it. Okay, now what happens if somebody forgot to say Atoch and Antonu? Women don't daven Ma'ariv too often, especially not Saturday night. So the din is you don't have to repeat the Shmoneh Esrei, but before you do any malacha, you have to say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'cha. And no, this guy doesn't bring it down, but in Alter Rebbe it says what happens if a guy didn't say Atoch and Antonu, and before he said Baruch HaMavdil, he did something that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. So then he has to repeat the Shmoneh Esrei. But once you say, if you forget the Shmoneh Esrei, you say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'cha, you're allowed to do all malachos. There are people that have a minhag, by the way, and this is brought down in Unzera Sfarim also, that certain things that you're even though you're allowed to do it, you don't do it before Havdalah. Even though you daven Shmoneh Esrei, you say Baruch HaMavdil. For instance, a lot of people compare it like to what you don't do Chol HaMoed. You know, there's a lot of people, even men, especially men, they'll daven Ma'ariv in Shul, but they won't write until they make actually Havdalah over a cup of wine. Many people, the men who fold the talesim, so they're supposed to fold, you're not allowed to fold the talis in Shabbos, because you can't do folding in Shabbos. So a lot of people do it right after Shmoneh Esrei, they're already folding up the talis, they want to get Sholem Bayis. But the pearl, there's a sikh from the Rebbe writes that we do it after Havdalah. You fold the talis after actual Havdalah over a cup of wine.
Is there any merit of not washing dishes, not cleaning the kitchen, not organizing the house before?
No, I said basically what they do is they don't do things that they won't do Chol HaMoed. I'm saying, but washing dishes, that they would do. Okay, they bring down the Rebbe, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they bring down that the Rebbe Leivik, the Rebbe's father, didn't smoke until he made Havdalah. No, but he used to smoke. These people smoked a lot. Mm-hmm. So it's a big thing that they didn't smoke until after he made Havdalah.
Yeah, but if a woman does not have a Ma'ariv, is there any,
she has to say Baruch HaMavdil. No, she said Baruch HaMavdil.
And she cannot say Atoch and Antonu out of Shmoneh Esrei, just like this?
You could, but what for?
I don't know, because that's what we do. I don't know why.
I've never heard that women say Atoch and Antonu. I know they say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'cha. I never heard that they say Atoch and Antonu. Like, why should they?
But if you davening Ma'ariv, I don't know.
Yeah, if you're davening Ma'ariv in the Shmoneh Esrei, you say, Atoch and Antonu.
It's a problem to say?
No, probably not. It's a tefillah.
I don't know where I got it from, but
huh?
So there's no Hashem's name.
There is.
Yeah.
Hashem Elokeinu. Yeah. But it's a tefillah.
There's a whole song that the women sing.
Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Lo Yizachisi.
You want me to sing?
No. I mean, I could walk out, you could sing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole song.
Okay.
I'm tuned to that.
Now, Havdalah, the preferable thing to use Havdalah for Havdalah is wine. And preferably it should be red wine. He said many stories with the Rebbe. Somebody had a problem with the eyes, and the Rebbe told him to always make Havdalah on red wine, and his eyes got better. But, Mashal, you can't make Havdalah over challah. Kiddush you can make over challah. But Havdalah you can't make over challah. The most preferable thing to use for Havdalah is wine. Second would be grape juice. Third, beer, and then all the other Chamar Medinas. Now we mentioned last time Tea, if it's warm enough that you could drink it in one shot, then you can make it tea. But again, Chamar Medina was called the drink of the land, is really only proper if there's no wine. Or you really like the beer, like we said, the Friedrich Rebbe would say Pesach used to make Havdalah and beer because he didn't have beer for 8 days, so it was very precious to him, so he made Havdalah and beer. Okay, now before Havdalah, you say Hine Kel Yeshua Siyeftach, all those brachas of blessing to start off the week. In fact, there's 7 psukim, that tefillah, Hine Kel Yeshua Siyat, that many people say along with the person making Havdalah. That is because there's 7 nice brachas psukim that go for the 7 days of the week. Okay, now so you have Havdalah. By the way, those psukim are not a vital part of the Havdalah. In other words, there's in the Havdalah you have like this. You have the bracha Beri Pri Hagafen. After the initial psukim that we say Hine Kel Yeshua, you have Beri Pri Hagafen, you have Beri Minei Psamim, Beri Meirei Ha'esh, and the last bracha Mavdol Ben Kodesh Lucha. Okay? Now, Psamim and Eish, the Psamim and the fire, if you don't have them, you don't make the bracha, you still Yotze Havdalah. If you get a fire Saturday night, then you could still make the bracha Beri Meirei Ha'esh, but only Saturday night. And the Psamim also, Psamim you could smell 300 times a day and make a bracha. But again, the Psamim for Havdalah, you do, if you were doing it, you do it Saturday night. You still make Havdalah, Beri Pri Hagafen in the last bracha, and you still get the mitzvah of Havdalah.
I didn't think I needed to
Huh? A lot of women, there's no official Chabad minig, but my understanding is that in Chabad the minig is that they don't do the bracha Beri Meirei Ha'esh. Women. Since a Shulchan brings it down. But the reason for that is, again, it's all connected to Chet Eitzadas. So because there's a Chet Eitzadas, and they're involved in it, so they don't do the bracha Beri Meirei Ha'esh either.
Is that because the women don't look at their nails? Because then the klipa was in the...
Then they'll have to go to the...
Right. Oh, I need a manicure now.
A manicure, yeah.
No. Doesn't it have to do because the klipa was in the nails after the sin, and that's why the women don't refer to that, because they don't want to...
I'm saying that's what's connected to Chet Eitzadas. In Kabbalah it says, and Alter Rebbe alludes to it in Tanya, that before Adam Rishon sinned, his whole body was covered with nails. These nails, the whole body. Then when he sinned, it all fell off and remained on the fingernails. Therefore, when you cut your nails, you have to wash your hands. There's Ruach Ra, the evil spirit, and all that. It's all interconnected to Chet Eitzadas. But, I mean, again, women in our circles mostly don't do it. Again, women do it, they do it. It's not forbidden to do. But why do we do Psamim Saturday night? So it says, on Shabbos there's an extra neshama, and the neshama leaves right after Shabbos. So to make it feel better, we do a good smell to make it feel better. Why do we do Beri Meirei Ha'esh? Because the Medrash says Adam Rishon was created Friday. From Friday morning, Friday night there was no darkness in the world. The original first Friday night was light from Friday morning until Saturday night. The first Shabbos there was only light. After Shabbos was over, Hashem made darkness into the world. And Hashem gave Adam Rishon the seichel to rub 2 sticks together, and he created fire. So because fire was created Saturday night, and fire is warmth and food, and it's a very important thing in our life, so we make a bracha Beri Meirei Ha'esh. Now, what's the bracha that you're benefiting from the candle? Right? That you're benefiting from the candle. So therefore, if you notice, people go with their fingers to the... A lot of guys go from 30 feet away to go like this. I mean, it's ridiculous. You're supposed to... Rather, the way it works is you put your thumb is hidden, and then you open up your hand, your hand is closed, you go Beri Meirei Ha'esh, and in Shulchan Aruch it says the right hand, but our minhag is to do both hands. What is the purpose of looking at the candle? To see the difference between the nail and the skin. Then you're benefiting from the candle. So when people do Bari they do it like this, and they should be able to look at the difference between the finger and the nail, so then they're benefiting from the candle. But you're standing a half a block away and you go like this. I mean, it's...
No, but you have 50 people.
People don't know.
No, and I'm saying people don't know. So then what they should do is they should later take two matches, strike two matches together, and let's say the bracha Bari. At least they're benefiting from it.
After Havdalah is over?
Yeah. Some people make their own psalmim bracha, mera eish bracha. Some people listen Yosef from the men. There are different customs. Even women. Some women make a bracha on their own psalmim. Some don't. Some don't make the bracha. Whatever. Either way, it's fine because you're either Yosef or not. Now, if somebody switched psalmim and the candle, the order of the bracha doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the order. Now, in order to be Yetza Havdalah, you have to hear the last bracha of Havdalah. Whether you must hear Bari Pri Agafen or not is questionable in the Alter Rebbe. There's a Chatzi Eagle, whatever, but it's not clear. But whether you must hear the bracha Bari Pri Agafen to be Yetza Havdalah. But the best thing is, if you didn't hear the Bari Pri Agafen, you shouldn't make your own Havdalah again. You should try to listen again from somebody else, if you can. At least you're not making a bracha in vain, and you're listening to the bracha of Bari Pri Agafen again. Okay.
So you could be
Huh?
if you don't hear, if you don't hear.
If you're supposed to hear the Bari Pri Agafen, but I'm saying if you don't hear the last bracha, for sure you're not Yetza. But I'm saying, even let's say you missed the bracha on the psukim before, or you didn't hear the bracha psamim or eish, whatever. As long as you hear the Bari Pri Agafen and the last bracha, for sure you're Yetza the mitzvah of Havdalah. Now, what happens if somebody didn't make Havdalah Saturday night, whether for whatever reason it is? They can make Havdalah until Tuesday sundown. But then you don't do psamim and you don't do candle. You just, some people say you don't even say Hine Kol Yeshua. See, our meaning is that we do. You say the bracha, Bari Pri Agafen, and the last bracha. Tuesday sundown is the last time.
I thought you couldn't eat or drink anything
You're not supposed to, correct.
after Havdalah.
We're going to get into that.
Yeah.
We're going to get into eating or drinking.
Can somebody can wait till Tuesday?
So let me ask you a
I
question.
mean, I never do that.
A person is, you're not allowed to eat before Kiddush either, right?
Right.
What happens if a person in a situation, they can't make Kiddush Friday night? There's no wine. They're in a hospital giving birth. They got stuck somewhere, whatever.
Right. Make it happen, yeah.
They don't, huh? So it happens. It happens more than you think it happens by them. Especially in the summer when people go traveling and then you get stuck in traffic. So then the din is, if you know you're getting wine that night, you should have to wait. If not, you can already eat. I'm saying the same din that,
Isn't Challah cover it? Isn't that
yeah, if you make Kiddush and Challah, they make Kiddush and Challah. But if you make Havdalah Sunday, I'll give a very simple example. We do this.
Maybe they
Forgot, I'll tell you another example.
Even if they were eating.
If Tisha B'Av is Shabbos or Sunday, correct? So the fast starts right in at the end of Shabbos, the fast starts. You already can't make Havdalah Saturday night, but you have to make Havdalah for Shabbos. So when do you make Havdalah? Sunday night. Before you eat, you have to make Havdalah, but you don't say the bracha on the psamim, you don't say the bracha on the candle, because that only applies to Saturday night.
But Tuesday at 5, 6 o'clock, you can do it.
As long as
So you can really make Havdalah on Tuesday?
not the chatchila. I'm saying if you didn't for whatever reason.
And you forgot.
So it's an open din in the modern Shulchan Aruch. It's a clear din. You can go through Tuesday at Shkia. Till Shkia, Tuesday.
A lot of people say just somehow. They put the kids to sleep, they make Havdalah Sunday morning for them.
In Alaska, they do that. In Alaska, they do that.
Yeah, in my school, with 15 friends, they would put us to sleep, and before breakfast, the madricha make
Havdalah.
for us. So, what age has to be the child that they are obligated to listen to Havdalah?
I'll give you an example. In Alaska, summertime, Shabbos ends at 2 a.m. Shabbos is over at 2 a.m. So the adults who are up, and they make Havdalah 2 o'clock in the morning. Kids are not staying, even bar mitzvah kids are not necessarily going to be up until 2 o'clock in the morning.
You have to stay up? You have to stay up till 2 o'clock?
So then they make Havdalah Sunday morning.
But you have to stay up till 2 o'clock. You have to?
It's better to do it.
But it's
Is it better to make Havdalah Saturday or Sunday morning? Is it better to make Havdalah Saturday night? You can't. But l'chatchila, you try to make Havdalah Saturday night. So the little kids or whatever it is go to sleep. If they wake them up, they wake them up. They don't wake them up, they don't wake them
So
up.
for what age is a kid is Mechuyev Havdalah?
Because the problem is, not the problem, they could make Havdalah Sunday morning. They could. So,
What age? Mechuyev.
Mechuyev for what? Havdalah?
That they cannot eat?
No. Eat. Children under bar and bat mitzvah don't have to keep, they're allowed to eat before Kiddush, under bar and bat mitzvah. They're allowed to eat before Kiddush, and they're allowed to eat before Havdalah. That's a clear doubt that Rabbi says. Obviously, if you have a kid, a 10-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid, you want to train him not to. But halachically, these things that are dependent in doing a mitzvah to eat and all that, so it says clearly in Shechnoch, they can eat or drink before Kiddush or Havdalah. Adults over bar and bat mitzvah are not allowed to eat before Kiddush or drink anything before Kiddush or Havdalah. According to our custom, you don't even drink water before Havdalah, unless if you washed and you didn't bench yet. Okay, now all adults, male, are obligated in Havdalah. According to all opinions, that's for sure. When women, it's a question whether they're obligated in Havdalah or not. The only question is the Yechoyim min HaTorah min Rabbanon. The Pearl, they bring all the poskim bring down. Dal Rebbe, most poskim, by the way, most opinions say a woman is obligated in Havdalah. But Dal Rebbe says like this, because there are opinions that say she's not. I mean, she has to say Baruch HaMavdil, I'm saying over the cup of wine. So therefore, a man who heard Havdalah should not make it for his wife or for a woman. For another man, a man who heard Havdalah 10 times can make Havdalah 10 times to 10 different men. Because they're obligated, and if they're obligated, I have an obligation to make sure they do their obligation. But a woman might not be obligated in Havdalah. Even though most opinions say she is obligated in Havdalah min HaTorah, and therefore most opinions, by the way, in Halachos say a man could make for a woman who didn't hear Havdalah yet, even though he heard it already. But the Alter Rebbe says it's better that he doesn't make Havdalah for her. So therefore, if let's say a husband is in shul, he should have in mind not to be Yetz Havdalah, because there would be a question of making Havdalah at home for his wife, unless if there's a bar mitzvah kid, or she wants to make herself.
I'm saying that another man, like a neighbor, another man who did hear Havdalah, he could make that.
No. A man who heard Havdalah should not make Havdalah for a woman that didn't.
Yes, that was a woman cannot make Havdalah for a man.
Correct. And because of that, a woman cannot make Havdalah for a man, even though halachically, even though the Alter Rebbe says, Tova Me'ed or whatever the expression, but a woman can make Kiddush for a man, because they're equally obligated. But Havdalah not, because if she's not obligated, then she can't make it for a man who is obligated.
So if a woman makes Havdalah for other women, is it better for, if you can, for a woman to make it own, or it's okay for her to do it for another woman?
Okay, according to the way the Alter Rebbe holds and others, there's a Ramah that says women shouldn't make Havdalah for women, but they question the Ramah, that's because why not? But if an Alter Rebbe comes out clearly that a woman could make Havdalah for other women.
Good.
Good. And therefore, you have a woman's Shabbaton or whatever, and there's no male around.
They do.
Huh?
Yeah,
So,
they do. They need
so
that.
one woman makes $1 for it. What?
It's better to do,
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, if there's no other choice.
Okay, but again, if the husband already heard Havdalah, it's better that she goes and makes her own Havdalah.
Does she drink the wine?
Yeah.
Because some women say they make Havdalah, but they don't drink the wine.
It says if you can't drink the wine, you can give it to a kid who understands what a brach is on the wine and give it to them to drink. But
If you don't really want to drink wine, I mean, I do drink wine.
what are the options? Grape juice, you mean?
Tea, you said coffee, but I don't drink coffee at night, I can't. Tea,
Tea?
tea, hot, warm tea, you said.
Beer.
And I cannot do that at night. I mean,
It's the best time to do it. It takes you out. Don't do it.
unfortunately, it's the opposite.
And that can be using for-
It's not a, what do you call it? It's supposed to be not very good.
To save a little bit of wine.
What is it?
A what?
To save.
Stimulus?
No,
Stimulus?
it's supposed to be a
No.
depressant, but I don't know.
Usually it is.
You know, you don't know.
Sometimes spice sugar, it's spice
But
sugar.
there's another interesting minhag that you don't drink. Other people don't drink from the wine of Havdalah. Only kiddies should do that, unless if the Havdalah becomes the Keish Bracha of benching. Like the Rabbi used to make Havdalah and the cup he benched on, and then he made Havdalah, and then he gave out. So that's a different story. But otherwise, the minhag is that nobody drinks in the cup of wine, and only the person that actually drinks the wine. Okay.
We are told
What
that
about-
a woman
what
gets a
about-
mustache if she brings a
They say hair on the palm or grow a mustache, grow hair on her face, they say.
What about taking the wine that's
Yeah,
in the little
yeah.
saucer and then put it on their eyes? Oh, is that what you just
By
said?
the way,
You just said?
we didn't get there yet, but the custom.
Yeah, you finished.
No, we didn't finish Havdalah. We finished now for today.
Oh, good.
The custom that you take your fingers and put it, a
Right.
little bit of wine and put it over your eyes.
Right.
Rabbi brings down the reason for that is to show that we love the mitzvah. Chivuv mitzvah. So we love the mitzvah of Havdalah. Okay? But a lot of places it's brought down, if you put it in your pocket, you're going to get rich, it's just gula for money and this and that, and people put it over themselves. I'm not saying it's Boba Maises.
People do it.
People do it. I'm not saying it's Boba Maises. But the Rebbe didn't do it. We saw when the Rebbe made Havdalah in 770, with the licht and everything. So the Rebbe only did with his fingers over here, that was it.
Indeed.
Yeah, that he did. That's what Al Trep brings it on Shkrof to do. But he didn't put in the pockets and here and there, that he didn't do. Yeah, some people have a minhag, they also smell the Havdalah candle after you put it out. There's a lot of different customs. Some of them whatever, and some of them whatever.